Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Deja Vu here, bringing you set 6, the final regular set between SKT and KT in the Pro League final. SKT up 3 games to 2 with a win here. They will take the Pro League finals for 2010-2011 season. If KT, with the power of stats, can win this game, they'll head on to an ace match between these two teams, which would be very, very exciting as well. So either way, this game is going to be huge. In the top left corner for KT Rolster is the Protoss player Stats. A very, very good player for KT Rolster. Has really developed into quite a powerhouse, really. He has been very, very impressive. He's had a couple slumps this year where he's kind of had some downturns where maybe he'll lose like 6 or 7 out of 10 games and kind of make you question, well, does he really have it? But he's always bounced back, and he's continued to be a solid, really solid contributor for KT Rolster, and really that second fiddle to Flash, and they're going to need him now. They're going to need him to get a win right now. The map is Dante's Peak, and his opponent, as you see that pylon going down there at the natural expansion, is a Zerg player for SKT. It is Su for SKT, so Hyuk is not going to show up. What a shocker, Hyuk not playing when it counts. So instead we're going to see Su, who has been another one of those solid Zerg players. SKT Zergs have that history, have that, I don't know what to call it, that aura, that tendency, that notoriety for being very, very streaky, and Su is definitely one of those. He's gone on some streaks in this season where he's really been like, oh, look, SKT's got a great Zerg player, and then he goes into a massive slump where he doesn't even look like he's a competent player. So, you know, he's an SKT Zerg in every sense of the word. He is a true SKT Zerg, and that's just what he is and how he plays. So if he's on form, if he's playing well, you never know. He could take down Stats easily. An on form Su on a good day could definitely take down Stats. So this should be a very, very exciting matchup. I really want to see how he decides to play this. S2 for SKT1, another one of those streaky Zergs that actually has been a little bit more consistent, as I mentioned earlier in this series. Has actually made a name for himself in ZVP in being kind of cheesy. He's relatively cheesy. He favors those three hatch Hydra busts. That's what he does. It's what he does best, and he does it a lot against opposing Protoss players. So what kind of attitude will Su bring? Will he go for that Hydra bust? Will he go for a turtle style here? Will he mix it up? Will he do something that we haven't seen in a while? Perhaps a Muta build? Will he do something that we haven't seen yet? Su doesn't have that defined style that say an S2 does in ZVP. Not quite yet. At least not one that's notable. But we'll see what he decides to do. It doesn't look like he's got a third hatch going up quite yet. Perhaps could be moving towards it. Yeah, I'm sorry, this is not Dante's Peak. I'm sorry, this is Empire of the Sun. My bad. Yeah, this is New Empire of the Sun. My bad. So for those of you that were looking at this thinking, this doesn't look like Dante's Peak, the bases are not... Yeah, this isn't Dante's Peak. This is New Empire of the Sun. And Su is going to take this base at the bottom left, the natural expansion. Going to have that set up nice and well. Stats, actually, I like that probe. If you've been watching that probe while I've been talking, that probe has been doing a lot of harassment. It doesn't have any kills, but he's been very, very annoying with that probe. I actually really like how he's been using it so far. He's done a really good job of just being harassive and losing a little bit of mining time here and there, and taking a look at the crowd, the couples that come here. It's like a sporting event, you know. Like you'll take a date out to a baseball game or a hockey game or something. Well, you do that in Korea with StarCraft. How cool is that? You do that with Korean StarCraft is like a baseball game for us here in the States. It's awesome. It's good for them. I'm actually glad. That is awesome that people do that. Anyways, we got a layer going up for Su, as he's going to develop that tech, and Su has actually skimped on his Zerglings, much like Action did as well. Skimping on those Zerglings, not going to put any real pressure on the front, just going to scout it out. And will Su go for that turtle style? Will he go for that turtle style? If he does it, unlike Action, I hope that he goes with Lurker Sunk rather than just pure Sunk, which did not work very well. He went Sunken Zergling and was busted quite well, very, very impressively by Rain over and over again at both bases. They both natural expansions, bottom left and top left in that game, went down to some quality bust by Rain. Looks like a couple more Zerglings have been produced now, just in case perhaps that there's any sort of a random Zealot that's wandering towards the bottom left base or something like that. He's going to need some Zerglings to defend, so it looks like that's all he's really doing right now. There's a Zealot in the middle of the map. Interesting location. And almost getting scouted out by Zerglings, and I don't think it was. No, I don't believe Su saw it. Su is getting a Spire up right now. So he's going to have those Scourge out to deal with Corsairs. That Forge is spinning, so +1 coming up for stats. As we get a look at their fingers, and I like that KT Rolster iPad thing, that little I think it's actually one of those like electronic photograph holder things that just cycles through the photographs that you put on it. I've seen those before. I think that's all it is, going through like KT Rolster pictures, team photos, logos, things like that. It's kind of cool. I like how they use that. They've become a high-tech StarCraft team rather than the usual, just put up posters with like random sayings and things like that. They're trying to be cutting edge over here at KT Rolster. We do have some more hatcheries coming up now for Sue, a 4th hatchery, and it looks like a 5th hatchery coming up at the natural expansion as well. First Corsair is out, not going for that scout, because once again, similar to other games, we've had that probe scout that's managed to stay alive for a while, so he feels pretty comfortable knowing what's coming his way, so he's just going to go straight for Overlords, and he's going to get 1, and probably that's it. And Sue, on the other hand, is going to take that 4th base at the bottom left, and I think that Stats is going to scout this out, but no, he's actually going straight for the natural of the bottom left, so he's not going to see this right away. It's going to be a little bit longer for him to notice that unless he wanders over that way. We got to look at the coaches for SKT and for KT. And there, the Scourge and Stats is going to get away, maybe. He can make those 45-degree angle turns. For those of you watching that are Protoss players wondering, how the hell do you get a Corsair away? You make 45-degree angle turns as much as you can that will dodge your opponent's Scourge, and you will actually gain ground on them. That's how the Corsairs work. Make 45-degree turns, and you will be good. And he's going to go get him straight to a cannon. Going to pick off one of the Scourge, and he's got 3 Corsairs right now, so he's building up those Corsair numbers. No cannons inside the natural expansion. In fact, there's no pylons at the natural expansion, so yeah, nothing there right now. And that actually could be information that that Sue uses in the future. Knowing that there's no pylons there, knowing that there's no cannons there, that's something that he could look to in the future as a place for a possible lurker drop, something like that. As you go for this turtle style, one thing you do with that turtle style is you get lurkers. Which is, usually you get lurkers, and you can try and be harassive with them. You can put them not only inside of your sunken colonies to defend, but you can put them as a kind of a contain, force your opponent to get observers before they can really attack you. You can drop them, just be as harassive and annoying as possible, and it delays that bust that Protoss has to do to try and take you out, and it's really quite powerful. If you're able to do it right. A couple sunken colonies here at the bottom left along with those Zerglings will be enough to hold off these Zealots for now. The Scourge are following this Zealot group, and the bottom right natural expansion we have a couple sunken colonies once again for that Sim City, and probably some more Zerglings will be built right now, and that's basically what Stats wants to do. He wants to force Sue to build Zerglings right now in Hydras. He wants him to stop droning. That's more than anything else. That's the important part. He wants him to stop droning and getting such a strong eco. Sue throwing away a couple Zerglings there as he's bringing his Zealots back. Does look like Stats is going to take his 3rd base there at the 10 o'clock position. Flash looks like he's in a good mood. Hoja looks like he's in a good mood. Both of them have victories for their team, so why wouldn't they be? And looks like we got a nice Corsair group now, able to start picking off some Scourge with pretty high effectiveness. Doing a good job there, and it's the Scourge going towards that 10 o'clock base. I don't know if he saw it. I would think, yeah, okay, now he sees it. Some cannons going up, so this is actually another way to counter a 4-base Zerg play is to take a quick third, and try and match your opponent base for base as well as you can, because obviously with only Zerglings there, you can actually get away with less units defending, and it looks like Zerglings are going to head towards the that 10 o'clock base, going to try and see if they can do some damage, but with the Zealots and with the cannons, they're not going to have too much luck there. Zerglings have no upgrades yet. I actually haven't noticed the evolution chambers, but of course, even if we saw them, you can't tell whether they're upgrading or not, because there's Zerg buildings, and Zerg buildings, you have no idea what they're doing, ever. They're just like, they just sit there, being all confusing and whatnot. And a random pylon for Stats out in the front there on his main ridge. And I actually like that pylon. It's a good pylon, whether or not, I mean, it might not power anything, but what it does is give scouting information, and especially for backdooring information. When he sends his army out, if a bunch of Zerglings start heading in that direction, that pylon will be important, because it'll let him know that there are Zerglings coming for a counterattack, and to prepare for it, and to get ready to use some of his micro and his multitask on that area. So very, very good by him. We do have +1 armor on the air for the Scourge, those Overlords, so they will be more effective against the Corsairs, and +1 armor on the Scourge will be enough to take down Corsairs, but not if the Corsairs get to have like 3 seconds of free shots with their weapons before the Scourge even noticed. So Su having some problems here, definitely showing some micro errors here with his multitask, not able to control everything effectively, and having some problems overall. He does have these 4 bases going, but stats with those 3 bases is probably pretty happy right now as well. And here come those Scourge, not able to do anything to all of the Corsairs. Looks like that Corsair number has hit like 7 now, 7 or 8, something very, very large, and becoming very, very powerful. Enough that one Spore Colony is not going to be enough at any place to stop this. And it looks like Su's doing kind of similar to what Action did, and that's go mass Zergling with your Turtle. He does have some Hydras out, so we could be seeing some Lurker play develop out of this, but these Corsairs are just picking off so many Overlords. Look at this for stats, picking off so many Overlords. This is so much better for stats than it was for Rain is with the Corsair play. Rain still won that game with subpar Corsair play, but this is fantastic Corsair play for stats. Going to pick off another 6 or 7 plus Overlord. I don't know why he's not continuing to pick them off. I think he could have just micro back whichever one was being attacked and picked off the rest of them. That is what he's going to do. Picks them all off. So Su is deep in the red right now. Su is in huge trouble. KT is in really nice shape right now with stats, and preliminary evidence, early shots, lend us to believe that stats will be able to send this to an ace match. That is the preliminary look right now. It's stats with all that Corsair work, and doing a good job. Just look at this, continuing to have great Corsair work. This is just too much damage. This is getting to that point where it's just too much damage. Like, you can win the game with pure Corsairs if your opponent doesn't get Hydras, doesn't get enough Scourge, doesn't have Spore Colony. You know, if they just don't have enough anti-air, you could basically win a game with Corsair, and that's exactly what he's doing right now. Those Corsairs have killed so many Scourge, they've killed so many Overlords, and Su is just constantly playing catch-up. He's just in absolute huge trouble right now. He's getting a Defiler's mount right now with that Hive Tech, but he is just in huge trouble. And here comes Stats pushing out a little bit. Nice Storms going down, picking off a lot of Zerglings. Had to use those Storms. Didn't want to use them or lose them when there's Zerglings inside of your High Templar lines. Use them or lose them. Decided to use them right there. Picked off a lot of Zerglings, but here comes the attack, and he doesn't even really need those Storms. Those Storms are really important, but he doesn't really need them because there's no Lurkers. Once again, we have another Zerg player who's avoided the Lurkers. They are morphing now, but they are very, very late, and these Dragoons are going to do a really good job of picking at the buildings. This is exactly how you use Dragoons in a push against a Zerg wall-in, is you use your Dragoons with their range to pick at the buildings that are causing the sunken colonies to be so well defended. And you reinforce this entire time, and that's exactly what he's doing. The Dragoons are strong enough to take down Zerglings with pretty high efficiency, especially with that Archon and things in the area. There's an Observer there as well for when he needs it, when he decides to push in. And we do have a 4th base coming up for stats there at the, what is that, the 8 o'clock position? Yeah, we'll go with the 8 o'clock position here. With those Lurkers, though, one big difference between what Rain did and what Stats is going to have to do is that because of that and the number of those Lurkers, Stats can't just rush his Zealots, and that was one of the great things that Rain could do. Because there weren't any Zealots, he was able to, or any Lurkers, he could just stream his Zealots in willy-nilly and just tank all of the sunken colonies and get all that damage right in there and doing tons of it and doing a really good job with those. But that's something that Stats is not going to be able to do because those Lurkers will tear through Zealots very, very quickly. And these Zerglings coming to the 8 o'clock base looking to try and take it down. They're going to try and focus down that Nexus straight away. He might be forced to cancel that and have to rebuild it. So that's what those Zerglings are trying to do, and that is going to happen. He's going to have to cancel. Yeah, there's the cancel. Cannon's coming up just seconds too late, but he's going to be able to re-put that down and get his 4th base up and running. With the number of Overlord kills, I mean, realistically, if we had the little thing in the corner that you get in the OSL to see their side counts, I'm sure that Stats is well ahead of what's-his-face, of Su right now. Some more Zerglings streaming around the map, but they're just not going to be able to do that much. Stats has cannoned up pretty well. Without Defiler support, these Zerglings are not going to be able to do enough. There are cannons all over the place for Stats, and he's looking in pretty good shape right now. And that shuttle loaded up probably with a High Templar drop would be my guess. Maybe DT, or maybe a combination DT and High Templar drop, which would be very, very cool. Looks like first he's going to take that 12 o'clock base. 3 cannons here at the 10 o'clock base going to try and defend, and there's a couple more cannons actually coming into play as well, and they will be enough to take this down, I believe. And even if they are crack upgrade, I think they will be able to finish it off. Yes, they will, and be able to defend that base. And here comes some more Zerglings, this time with Defiler support coming in at the 8 o'clock base. Going to try and take that one down. And there's the Swarm. Just a couple is outside, but Protoss' main army is there, and a Storm. So that will be enough to clean this up. So Su just getting into bigger and bigger trouble here. Not able to close any damage on the bases of Stats, and Stats is about to out-expand him right now. So Stats is in the driver's seat right now, in great position right now. And that shuttle, whatever it's loaded up with, probably Storm Drop, like I said, could be DTs as well. Going to go for that natural expansion. Going to try and one of the bases. Could go for either one, really. And he's going to go for the bottom left natural expansion first. Going to try and see if he can do some economic harassment. And here it comes. There is 2 High Templar. Storm picks off a lot of the drones there. Looks like he picked off 5 or 6 of the drones. Scourge coming in there are probably going to be able to pick off this shuttle. Yeah, he's going to have to drop off those High Templars somewhere. Probably, unless he can get it to his Dragoons, because he does have speed on that shuttle, so that is great. He should actually probably take them straight to his Dragoons so he can defend them. But instead, looks like he's just going to try and take them all the way home. And Defiler Swarm coming here at the 8 o'clock position. Again, going to try and take down this base. But Reaver and Storm there, so not going to have much luck there. That Reaver needs to build some Scarabs, methinks. I think it's out of Scarabs. Yes, it is out of Scarabs. He needs to build them up. He needs to start shooting them out. Build them up and shoot them out. And start taking out these forces. And here comes the main army for Protoss once again. Stats bringing it back. Going to be able to clean this up. And he's going to stop those lurkers and things. Those defilers are never going to get home. Well, theoretically never going to get home. Although if it's good enough swarms, you might be able to. And that Reaver just constantly able to keep that base so well defended. And Su just bashing his head against a wall. Trying to do some economic harassment. Having no luck. It looks like Stats might even be trying to take the top right main. Which is just hilarious to me. That he's going to out-expand his Zerg opponent so well. These Defilers at risk get 1 plague off, not a very good plague, only catching about 4 or 5 units. And now Zealots coming in here are going to be able to clean up even under Swarm. They will be effective, as will the Archon. And some Storms coming in here as well to try and take down the Lurkers. They are able to do so. So it looks like this game is coming to a close pretty quickly here. Stats dominating this game left and right. Out expanding his opponent and just yeah, I mean, with these Reavers getting going and everything else, he's just in fantastic position right now and getting this 12 o'clock base going, and with the Corsairs, there's just no way that that Su's going to be able to get after that. I don't even think he knows about that 12 o'clock base yet, but Stats still looking in really good shape, and there's some more good Storms coming in here, trying to keep the Zerglings back, and Cracklings, as you'll note as the game develops, actually Cracklings end up beating Zealots, being more economically efficient than Zealots. So army composition starts to switch into more Storms, more Archons and Reavers with their splash damage than you do with Zealots. It's a really interesting transition that you'll see from Protoss players, is how they transition away from Zealots as the game develops. It's actually one of those cool subtleties of StarCraft that I really like, is that transition. It's difficult to do as a player. It's annoying, definitely, but it's very, very cool how it works. And here comes an attack by Su, going to try and break these Archon Reavers and everything else. And will it be enough? Nice play coming in here, actually picking off a lot of the units, so Stat's going to be pushed back a little bit here at least, and going to have to retreat for now, going to retreat to his hill, but he should have a macro, some great macro going, I would think. And there's some Zealots coming in there that needs to be, both Hydras, or both Reavers get picked off by Hydras, so it's a nice play there by Su, able to pick off both of those. But so far, Stats has managed to keep Su from taking a 5th base, and is continuing to build his Reaver count. Look at these Reavers. There's about 3 or 4 Reavers on the field right now, starting to get more Storms around there. A nice play coming in there from Su. So he's actually managed to finally bust out here. Now that the Corsairs have stopped killing Overlords, he's had so much money, I'm sure, stockpiling, that he's finally able to do something with it and build some units. And here comes a shuttle, going to drop off. It's High Templar, and there's the Storm. 1 Storm. Where's the 2nd Storm? There's the 2nd Storm. Going to pick off another 6 or so drones. Going to be annoying. And Su coming in here with Lurkers, going on the aggressive, and is going to take the hill, at least for now. He's going to get on the hill. There's an Overlord going to the 12 o'clock position. Going to see the base. They're not going to be able to do anything about it quite yet. And Su continuing to push up this hill with Lurkers, and trying to just bust through that Storm, doing a pretty good job of it, actually. And Su's got to be pretty proud of himself right now, coming back in this game. Right now, at least, militarily coming back in this game. Still behind economically. He's absorbed more harassment, and Stats is on more bases than he is, so he's definitely economically behind. But in terms of map position, he has managed to come back somewhat in this game, and is trying to keep the pressure on with these Lurkers. And here comes a bunch of Overlords to come in with those to Ob snipe. It does look like they were able to snipe that one Obs that Stats had available. Stats need some more Obs in order to deal with this. And another nice Storm. Stats has had some really nice Storms throughout this game. Yeah, taking off a lot of units, doing a lot of damage, and keeping this attack back. At some point, I want to see if the Corsairs will come. Yeah, there they come. Here come the Corsairs. They will come into play and start picking up these units, because Su has basically lost most of his Hydralisk, and so these Corsairs will be hyper effective against these Overlords and be able to pick them all off. So that will be yet another nuisance for that Su will have to deal with. More Zerglings, tons of Zerglings streaming in. Amazingly enough, good storms coming in here from Stats trying to just pick at the Zerglings, so that way the Archon splash damage will be able to kill more. He needs to get the Archons out of Swarm. They only do splash damage under Swarm, and he is pulling them back right now. Storm going right on top of his Archons. He doesn't really care because he needs to kill off as many Zerglings as possible, and all will be well in the world. Some more Storms coming down there, a couple more Archons being morphed in, still trying to morph into that big Archon Reaver army, trying to develop it. I believe he does have a lot of Reavers still building at that 8 o'clock base, so as the game develops and he decides to bring those into play, that will be huge as the number of Reavers he'll be able to get going. Once that gets, once the shuttles start being built and sent to that area. Here comes the Reaver as well, and he is going to push Su off of his main ridge. So Stats may be able to get the pushback going right now. We're having a little bit of back and forth battles here, but what Su needs to do is he needs to keep the aggression. Like, he has no choice. He has to keep the aggression on. Cannot allow Stats to build a death ball. If he builds a death ball, Su just simply does not have the money, does not have the eco in order to deal with the death ball of Archons and Reavers and Dragoons and High Templar. It'll just be too much. Stats looks like he's just about mined out of his natural, and his main is basically mined out because there's only one probe left there. So he's mining off of 3 bases. Su has mined out his main. His natural probably is actually still decent, so he's still mining off of 3 bases, I would imagine. Pretty decently as we head into the later stage of the game. And the Reavers actually finding these lurkers, could pick off a lot of them. Yes, they do. They're going to start picking off the lurkers as they morph, so that is going to be painful for Su. And there you saw Reach clapping it up. Very, very proud of his protege Stats, taking up the Protoss banner for KT Rolster. That Reach, while still a member of the team, has definitely faded to the background as an older player that just doesn't quite have the skills that he used to. Not able to keep up with the... StarCraft is just a young man's game, you know. It's just a young man's game, and after a while, you just can't keep up anymore. It's like the shelf life of some athletes, some activities is just shorter than others, and StarCraft is one of those that's basically starts when you're about 16 and ends by the time you're maybe like 25, maybe somewhere in that range, and you're basically on the down hot side of your career at about 25. So that's where Reach is. He's on the downside of his career. His time in the military definitely dropped him down as well, and it took about 8 Scourge to kill 1 Corsair. There's some nice terrible micro by Stats, but that's okay. I imagine that he's microing 17 different places right now because he's got multiple Archons surrounded. He's building another base. He's doing tons of little things, so probably was not able to... Or Su, that was terrible by Su. I'm sorry, not Stats. But still, yeah. He was the one doing the micro surrounds. He's the one trying to deal with this base that's coming up. So either way, both players just so highly stressed right now in their multitask, in their micro, in their macro, in their everything. And these Zerglings just wandering right into the middle of the field are going to have a lot of them picked off by Reavers. So Su unable to take advantage of the fact of all these isolated Reavers. 3 Reavers there at that 8 o'clock base, just sitting there with a lot of Scarabs, ready to kill anything that comes their way. Probably we'll see a shuttle pop out of there pretty soon, so that we can move those Reavers around with his army. And Stats it looks like he's about to get his 6th base going, and some nice storms going down here all over the lurkers. Tons of storms going all over the lurkers. Lurkers falling left and right. Just one left. It goes down. Just Hydra's left. So fantastic by Stats. That was some great storming there, and kept his observer in position as well. Did not let it get self-stormed, which a lot of players do. A lot of players will self-storm their observers. It's hard to watch sometimes, but he does a great job. He's gonna go pick up a couple more Reavers there. There you go. Pick up a couple more Reavers and bring them into play. Both 2 Reavers do go down as that shuttle went back. He actually had produced a shuttle. He could have just used that shuttle to bring them forward, but does lose a couple Reavers for that little mistake. But now it looks like he's ready to push in here with all these Archons, with these Reavers, and is ready to take it to Su and show him what's up. And here comes the big attack. GG coming from Su, which means that we, the fans, will get a decisive ace match between KT and SKT1 to determine the winner of the Shinhan Bank Pro League 2010-2011. It's going to be epic. It will be Flash. Who will come out for SKT? Will it be Bisu? Will it be Fantasy? Will it be Best? Could be any of those 3. And this is going to be very, very exciting. Who will we see in the ace match? It's coming at you next. Set 7 of this final coming up, Jeff.